So a recent teaser for season 2 of Wheel of Time has dropped, and we will examine it in due time, but I need to do some unfortunate house cleaning to catch people up on what Wheel of Time is for those who are completely not familiar, as well as where I stand. I was reviewing this season, but basically a lot happened. Apologize, I will get back to those and finish it up. I realize people want me to move on to other topics, fine, but I want to finish those up just for completion. I did accidentally see the final episode just by mistake because I was trying to catch up and look at episodes 4 to the conclusion. So I do have a sense of what they basically did for the season, but I want to be fair to it. Give at least one good look at the middling episodes. So the consensus seems to be among the fandom in two camps. One thinks season 1 was basically complete garbage. There was some good stuff here and there, certain aspects you can praise, but in totality, very disappointing, very stupid, and frustrating.
For some reason, we've just got rampant degeneracy. I don't really know what's going on here, but what I do know is that the Two Rivers is a very, very traditional town, and if anyone acted like that in the Two Rivers, the women's circle would have dragged them out of the town by their ears. They certainly would have not done. They would have gatekeeped the crap out of that place.
And the more positive camp, people like Daniel Green, even they would give it a overall grade of kind of between 5.5 to 6.5. So that's the positive camp. So they're saying it's a little bit above average in terms of fantasy. Now, I like to boast I am an expert on many of these fields, from Game of Thrones to Dune to Spider-Man, Marvel Comics, DC Comics, so on and so forth. A lot of expertise I can boast, and I can demonstrate it if I have to, despite doubts, but I would say with Wheel of Time, I am very much novice level. I am working through the books, and I'm trying to be sincere in understanding what Jordan is up to, but I would have to say, as a Stephen King expert and George R. R. Martin expert and Tolkien person, I'm still not clear why this guy gets so much praise. I would say, relatively speaking to these other authors, he's definitely very good and has a good polished prose style, but in terms of the wider mythology, I'm not getting why people praise him or like the series so much. But again, I have to work through the books more carefully. But just my impression, I'm not clear why people are so concerned. Okay, so let's get to the teaser proper. It's not a lot. We just get a little bit with the cast. We get a little bit of presumably the White Tower and Tar Valon, but again, I'm not an expert here. I don't know. Maybe they're doing something else. And apparently we're getting a preview of the Aiel. For those who don't know, essentially they're the Fremen. Being very blunt about it, he seemed to have stolen a lot from Dune. They're this kind of people waiting for a Messiah. Rand is that Messiah. Yeah, it's Dune, and guess what? It seems to be in a desert setting, like Dune, and there we go. And the Aiel apparently are a fan favorite, so that's something to look out for. But again, we don't know for sure. It could be something else, but it does seem they're teasing the Aiel. And they also have a big wheel, too. And that wheel is not in the books. And it's a wheel where people are tortured on, or something, maybe sex stuff. I don't know. But they're making it prominent, and a lot of buzz as to what the hell that is. But apparently it's not canonical, so maybe it's a new aspect to the lore that they're going to inject into season 2. Which, to be fair, they are going to do a lot of new things. They're bringing on new people, and they're replacing old people because they lost one of the actors, and that apparently why he even left is unclear, too. Production is pretty troubled, and there have been a lot of partisan takes, but not bad necessarily. I saw one of them by Man Carrying Things. He did a very strong video denouncing a lot of the season. He did give it praise at certain moments, but he said overall, yeah, this is pretty trashy and garbage. I think he made a very devastating case, and I like a lot of his content. He's a real inspiration for me, honestly, because we do differ on a lot of particulars in terms of the books he reviews and the skits and so on and so forth. But he seems to know at least the early books, which he admits he hasn't read the whole thing. I mean, it's 14 books. That's a lot to work through. So he's only read the first couple books, but he knows enough to say that this is very suspicious. And I do know enough about Wheel of Time. Yes, they did play with the foundational mythology. We don't know if that's permanent, but they basically turned something into a mystery, which is not a mystery in the books. The prophecy seems very clear about certain things, but they still changed it. It's not clear why they changed it, but they did change it. Again, is that a permanent change? We're going to have to wait and see. As a not expert, I'm not clear what the big thing is that is so devastating. I could agree that this is a show that is very all over the place. The first couple episodes, as far as I can recall, were decent. Some were better, some were worse, but felt above average, but it could have been a lot better. But judging from the final episode, I would agree it looks to be a bad season because the final episode was remarkably stupid. It looked cheap, very rushed. A lot of decisions and things said were confusing. The ending in the Eye of the World is much, much more epic. It came across as very impressive. Again, I'm not a big fan of Jordan, but I would say the conclusion he makes in Eye of the World was very powerful. And he's basically giving us two major battles, which they did try to replicate, but it looks really terrible. And the costumes, the acting, special effects, just really, really subpar. It was really embarrassingly bad. Judged from the final episode, I can see what people are saying, but I want to give the other episodes a try. But there we are. So, did they give us enough in the teaser? It'll depend. It'll depend how the eel are portrayed, of who the new actors are, how they'll do things. A lot of unanswered questions, but I don't think this teaser is going to persuade skeptics or even people like me who are somewhat new to the whole mythology that, yeah, they turned it around. And maybe we'll see how the more diehard haters will react. I'll try to scan what they have to say, but is it over already? I have my doubts. It's season 8 Game of Thrones bad, but it definitely seems to need a course correction somewhere. Performances, world building, something needs to really happen to make this stand out. Otherwise, it'll just be kind of like mildly above average fantasy series, but one you really don't need to look at. And even if you're a fan of the books, don't worry. It's a big enough IP property. They're going to do it again, maybe in a more proper venue, and do justice to what Robert Jordan was up to.